Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Strings. In this week's episode, we are talking to Nick from Burman Guitars. Hello, Nick. How are you?
Oh, I'm well, thanks. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Nick, as you may know, Behind the Strings is a podcast where we just talk to inspirational companies that are loosely in the guitar music industry. And I have met you at the London International Guitar Show, and I was incredibly impressed with your guitars and your passion. So I think it would be really good to share some of these themes with our guests today. So Nick, probably the best way to start is, will you give us maybe some of your background? How did you get started in playing guitar, the guitar world generally, and eventually building guitars?
Right. How do I start?
It's always a hard question, isn't it?
Yeah. Where did it all begin? Well, I started playing when I was a teenager. I was about 17, and I'd always been fascinated with fixing things, repairing things. And I think one of the first things I did when I got this guitar was just take it apart. I just wanted to see what was inside. So I then had this dream that I might make a guitar one day, and I found myself in art school, or I went to art school in the early 90s, and they had this huge wood shop, and I thought, oh great, there's my opportunity. I've got all these tools at my disposal. I can make a guitar and see how hard it can be. And yeah, like a lot of people, I bought a copy of Melvin Hiscock's book, Make Your Own Electric Guitar. I didn't realize until quite recently that was a huge influence for a lot of people. A lot of people bought this book. And I spent a couple of years making this thing. I thought, if I'm going to build a guitar, I'm going to go through all this effort. I'm going to make something unique, something I want. I spent a lot of time designing and picking what I was going to put in it. It had to be my guitar, you know. And this guitar actually became my main guitar for a good number of years.
Wow.
And yeah, it actually worked. So I'm still good.
Which is always a plus, right?
It is. Yeah.
So was that guitar? Did you use that guitar live and you know, whatever, you know, kind of bands, practice and stuff like that? So it became your main instrument, the one that you built.
That was my main instrument.
Wow, that's fascinating.
I couldn't afford a real one. I thought I'd just make one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's possible, but anyway. Yeah. Then I found myself making some more guitars a few years later. And then after that, I started repairing friends' guitars. Yeah. And they started sending their friends as well. And then after lockdown, I just, long story short, I just thought, well, life's too short. I want to do something that I love. So I've been a graphic designer for about nearly 20 years at that point.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah.
And sitting in an office all day just wasn't really me. I wanted to go make things. At the end of the day, I just wanted to go make some sawdust. You know, I need to do something with my hands. And I quit the corporate job, and like a lot of people over COVID, you know, had that long discussion with your partner. And so I sat down with my wife and we talked about what we're going to do. And I just decided to just take the leap and start building more guitars. And I started working on specific designs I was going to offer. Started doing more repairs and put my name out there. And
that's fascinating.
Rest is history.
Incredible. So what was the first approach and to, I guess, the first models or the first, you know, guitars that you started coming up with in terms of designs? Did you have a specific approach in terms of aesthetics? Did you want to achieve something particular? You know, obviously you mentioned that you wanted it to be different and kind of unique. But did you base yourself on some idea that you had, or was it literally just a blank piece of paper and you started, you know, trying out various designs?
Yeah, it was just that. It was just doing some kind of shape that I liked, one that was hopefully comfortable.
Yeah.
That all good. So I've got all those early, I call them my prototypes, and
yeah.
they were just for me. I wasn't making them with you anybody else liking them. I didn't really care if anybody
Of
liked them.
course. That's really
And
interesting because yeah. And are some of the ones behind you some of those prototypes at all? Did the design kind of carry on to some of the guitars that you've made, or did you then subsequently change them?
yeah, I did decide to start again because I thought, well, they're going to have to be somewhat familiar designs for them to be ones that other
Yeah.
people can play. I can't make something so quirky that nobody else is going to want to play.
Of course, yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So I did start a design process again. I thought, okay, how am I going to make something that's only a few degrees away from what people know to be a guitar? Because whether we like it or not, if you're building a guitar now, you're dealing with about 70 odd years of history of the guitar.
Of course.
And it's going to be very difficult to just start from scratch and say, okay, no, this is what a guitar is like. So you have to build something that's familiar to some degree. The neck got to feel a certain way. And,
of course.
So I did start. But I mean, there's obviously still guitars that are for me. And I think that's quite important as a builder. You've got to build guitars for you, first of all. You've got to love what you're making, what you're playing,
that you actually enjoy playing and enjoy, you know, the look of, etc., and how it feels. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And what's really interesting is the fact that you mentioned, obviously there is, and I think as a group of people, guitar players sometimes can be very stuck in the past and kind of a little wary of you know, innovation and stuff like that. But and I certainly, as an example, my main, you know, kind of body shapes that I like are Les Pauls and Telecasters. Just simple, you know, especially the Tellies are, you know, my go-to things and guitars because, you know, they're simple, they're straightforward. Then you can kind of have pickup variations, but in terms of, you know, the simplicity, I think Leo Fender kind of got it really right with that. Just because it was just such a great design, you know, easy to fix, great to mod, you know, the various things. So what I find really interesting with your guitars and certainly the models that I've seen, so for our viewers today, the one just behind Nick in red, is one of my personal favorites. There, that one, yes, exactly. What I find really interesting, to me, it almost has, it's almost like an evolution of that idea. So it has the vibe and kind of spirit of some of these older vintage designs, but in a very modern way, and even the kind of colors, the aesthetics, and it has like the really, really great modern appointments that, you know, we've all come to love, and you know, the feel of a modern guitar. Because I think let's be honest, we all love how vintage instruments look, but I think, you know, there's something to say about how, you know, modern instruments sometimes feel a lot better. You know, some of the vintage ones, you know, you can get some real, you know, high action and fat necks and stuff like that. But what I found with your instruments is that it was a really nice blend in between these kind of two worlds, and I think that's often where a lot of manufacturers go wrong. They try to either completely copy what was done, or just, you know, go so extreme that it becomes very niche in the sense of, you know, becoming too, whether it's a, you know, pointy metal shredder guitar or whatever it is, right? I think your guitars are very unique, but have a very broad appeal as well. Was that one of your thoughts when you were building and drawing up these designs, to make it, you know, appeal to not a broad audience, but kind of make it comfortable for someone playing various styles of music, and it actually has to be a comfortable instrument. Was that one of the things that you set out doing?
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it. Actually, it's just an idea that there's something next, and trying to make something for a modern player, like you said, without it being pointy or blow up, or the Starship design. It's easy to design a Starship, but something that's familiar but comfortable, and also maybe addressing the issue of certain vintage guitars or certain traditional guitars where they've got a history already. So you see a particular shape, it makes you want to play certain things.
Absolutely.
Like a Strat or a Telly. The Telly is incredibly versatile, used for huge variety of styles and players, but it still has a history. And can be difficult sometimes. I find it difficult sometimes to tear away, away from that history. And I like to be inspired by an instrument, so I pick it up and aspire to do something else, something that I might not have done on a different guitar. And so that was kind of the idea with even different finishes and other appointments. That I'm just trying to inspire people to do something maybe a little different, something unique, something that's more them, something that they wouldn't have got out of another guitar. And also having, you mentioned the modern, or the modern features of a guitar. So a guitar that's more playable, that's more functional, and probably maybe has a longer life. So, for example, I always use stainless steel frets.
Yes.
Because I want the frets to last a long time. And something else you don't always get with off-the-shelf guitar is your ideal neck shape. So it's all about the feel. It's got a feel. It's your interface between, or it's the interface between you and music. So it's got to feel right. So I play lots of guitars that I love the sound of, and everything else I like out, but the neck just doesn't do it for me. I want something a little bit different. So so I can make a neck that's any contour, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I've said it. You know, I keep saying it, and people call me really boring for saying this, but anytime I play or touch a guitar, for me, the first thing, what makes or breaks it, is just the neck. If I don't like how the neck feels, the guitar can be the best guitar in the world, but I'm not going to actually use it. I'll be honest, you know, it's just the neck. For me, just how it sits in your hand, and you know, we're all different, so obviously we all have different preferences, but it is a very unique kind of feel to it, and that is really fascinating. So a question linked to that, do you offer different neck shapes, or do you have kind of a standard one that you build most of the guitars with?
I do have a standard shape that I use, which is obviously one I like, to be honest. It's a slightly fuller shape, but that is customizable, so I'll make any shape you want, really. So because like you said, that's the most personal thing. It's the first thing you notice about the neck, the part that you come into contact with the most when you're playing. So.
Absolutely. And I guess another thing that I was thinking about is, so from your kind of background, it's really fascinating to me how it seems, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you've learned everything kind of on the job and doing it, and you've practiced it, and you've worked hard learning all these various techniques. So is there, I guess, now you have a certain amount of experience, is there still something that you find particularly difficult, whether it's the woodwork, whether electronics, or the frets? Is there something that you kind of found either more difficult to learn, or are still finding kind of a bit of a struggle when you're building yourself a new guitar? Because I think people, in case people aren't aware, but Nick does everything, I believe, except for the pickups. You don't wind your own pickups, right? Is that correct?
No.
Yeah. So except for the pickups, the guitars the Burman guitars that you will get are completely handmade by Nick, and he does the whole thing. And so for me, it's fascinating that, you know, there's different skill sets there, and so you have to learn all these things. It's I would never personally be able to do it. So I'm really interested in how you got, you know, how you got there, and if you're still, you know, if there's some things that you like more than others.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I don't think I'm alone in this. I think one of my favorite things to do is shaping the neck.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure why. It's something really satisfying about when you go to carve the neck.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I always look forward to in a build. And then there'll always be challenges.
Yeah.
And there's always an opportunity to fine tune the process. So every time I build it, I'm thinking about the next time, how can I do this bit more efficiently, or just better other ways I can do this.
Yeah.
I think that one of the biggest challenges, I don't think I'm alone in this, is finishing. So
really?
Finishing can be, yeah, absolutely. And I talk to other builders about this, and the best answer you ever get is you got to do it yourself. You can ask innumerable people about how you mix the paint, how you set up the gun, etc. And there are some technical things that you also need to know, like how to use the equipment. But at the end of the day, you just got to get into the spray booth and just spray the stuff and do it a lot. And there'll always be funny things that come up. You might get something happened to the finish you're not sure about. Why is it doing this? And then you learn how to fix your own problems. But
so it is a bit trial and error as well.
Oh,
isn't
yes.
It?
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
I can imagine, especially the finishing must be a hard job, and you know, that's something that I don't. How did you even learn that? Was just by researching it, you know, in books and stuff like that? How did you even, or talking to other people? How did you even learn the, you know, the various steps in finishing a guitar? Because it's not that easy, actually.
Yeah, talking to other people is the best thing, and yeah, just getting out there and spraying paint is the best way to do it. I think with my first guitar, I think that was probably the beginning of how I was going to be finishing every other guitar. In one sense, I had about half a dozen different answers.
Right. Okay.
How to finish this thing, and I just went, okay, that way, and I did it that way. I used tung oil. I just picked one. I went, whatever, I'll just do that, because I thought I could just spend far too long trying to decide how I'm going to finish this thing. And sometimes I think it does come down to that. You'll ask 10 people, get 20 different answers. You just got to pick one and go with that, because the way that you do it is going to come out differently the way somebody else does it. And I've sometimes followed other people's advice and it's just not worked for me for whatever reason. I've followed other people's advice and it's worked like magic. So it really does the best. Finishing just seems to be so personal, because there are so many variables in how you do it, that you just got to do it and make loads of mistakes and get used to making mistakes.
And yeah, no, I guess that's really good advice in life as well, right? If you don't try it out, you're never going to know whether it works. But yeah, that's really fascinating. And I think along the same lines, I remember at the guitar show we had a conversation about your guitars using was it Newbone Graphtec nuts, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Yes, because we had a conversation about how shaping bone nuts smells really badly. Apparently, you told me that, and I did not know that. And these are little things that are fascinating for me as a guitar geek. But I've never made my own guitar or shaped the I've actually shaped, I think, only new bone nuts and not actual bone ones. So it's really interesting. And I guess these are all the little pieces that with experience, you'll know how to make a, I guess, more efficient, last longer. It's like the stainless steel fret kind of subject that you were talking about before. I think ultimately you want to make a product that will stand the test of time and make it modern in that sense. And what's another really interesting subject from my side is, and always going back to the London Guitar Show, where you had a very nice stand and it, all the guitars looked absolutely beautiful. But for me, it was really interesting to see, because those guitar shows in general, whether it's I think NAM or the smaller ones in the UK, etc., or even in Germany, they're really fascinating, because you have all these semi-big companies that show the brand new products that they make, and everything is kind of almost, I want to say, machine made with very little human interaction, and they're very standardized, some of the products. And then you have, which for me is the nicest thing, the independent small builders like yourself that will show the best guitars that they've made and the newest models. And from your perspective, how do you see, in terms of the people attending, the crowds, do you generally get a good reaction from people when they come across a smaller custom builder like yourself? Do you see people really interested in the steps that you go through, all the passion that you put in? Or have you seen that kind of go up and down in time? What's the kind of feedback you get from the general public?
I get quite a varied feedback, which
really,
I think is probably what I want. I don't think you can expect it to be able to sell something to everybody anyway. So when I get a lot of people coming up to me and saying, "Yeah, this isn't really my thing," that's perfectly okay.
It's fair enough. So, yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So I've talked to other builders, and we'll agree that people who are going to buy that are not going to buy this, and vice versa. So I think it's great when I hear people's honesty. No, it's not really for me, but I get people excited as well. Particularly, I can't really point on camera. I've got one guitar that has a fan fret multi-scale.
Yes.
That's the one guitar that I like putting in people's hands, because it's meant to be ergonomic. There's sonic benefits to it as well, but it's the odd thing about it is that it doesn't normally feel that odd. It feels very, very comfortable. So that's one guitar I like to get people to play, just to experience.
It's a unique playing experience, I guess. Yes, yeah. If I put myself in your shoes, seeing people's reaction to the guitars that I create is a really good way as well, I guess, to judge kind of the general mood or general trends. And I think that's also one of the good things about being at guitar shows, is you can kind of, by watching the public and watching people, you can kind of see the general mood in the guitar community. And so that's really interesting. As a builder, I can imagine that brings you into a kind of, that helps you come up with new designs or new features that you think. Is that something that you kind of see often, in terms of you after shows and stuff like that? You get a thought that maybe this would work well, or maybe this specific design would work well. Do you get that feeling ever?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, at different shows, you can be different audiences too. So you might get the impression that people are just there for the secondhand stalls. So there'll be a lot of dealers there with Burman Gibson, Fender, PRS, etc. So maybe people are just there, just to buy a new off-the-shelf guitar, or look for a good deal or something. But no, I still see a lot of interest from people who are looking for something that's a little bit different, always unexpected. So yeah, you do get quite varied. various feedback from people, and because everybody's different, everybody's looking for something different. And I think the best thing I expect is just to get out there and meet people and
correct. Yes.
get exposure, and that's what it's all about. And talking to other builders as well.
Absolutely, because ultimately it is a community, isn't it? I mean, one of the things that really surprised me in, I think, a very positive way about, you know, your guitars is they're actually for a custom, you know, handmade as much as possible guitar. They're actually relatively affordable in my view. And you know, are you conscious when making them in terms of pricing them right, or, you know, are there certain steps that you take in terms of keeping the costs down, of making, you know, your whole processes more efficient? Is that something that you kind of think about? Because it is one of the you know, being really, really honest with you, I think that they're exceptional value, because you're getting something that has been made with all the love in the world and all the attention, and there's, you know, very little pre-made parts there, and so the value that you actually get for an instrument that will last you a very long time. I mean, I think most of us will be dead, and the stainless steel frets will still be there. So, so I think, you know, for a quality instrument like that, I mean, I think it's incredible value, and it's just always, I can imagine it must be a struggle for a builder like yourself to keep those costs down. And obviously you have suppliers of both, I guess, the wood, the fret material, your bridges, etc., etc. Is that, like, have you seen that becoming more of a struggle, because I guess the economy and prices going up, Brexit, whatever it may be? Has that become a problem for you in terms of keeping your guitars at a competitive level?
Post Brexit, I think it has definitely impacted pricing. Trying to get parts from abroad. There's certain German and other European manufacturers that I probably won't be buying from, just because the greater cost of importing from other countries outside the UK.
Of course.
So that has definitely impacted. Shipping costs have gone up, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but I think as far as the price point goes, I think my prices, which are on my website, we have to talk about pricing right now, but I'd say they're probably comparable to a higher end production made guitar anyway. So if you look at you know, anything under, let's say, £3,000, you're going to go into a high street guitar store, you'd expect to spend up to about £3,000, I'd say.
Yes.
So most custom guitars from other builders too are going to be under that price. So we're not talking five figures for something that's going to take you months and
absolutely.
Build, you know? So it's perfectly reasonable, I think.
No, I totally agree with you, and especially I think considering the real research, I think, and we had a chat about this at the guitar show, the real research you put into the right components and the right, you know, for example, the pickups and the bridge that you use, and, you know, the stuff that you don't make yourself. You really put a lot of efforts and into making the right, working with the right companies, because I think you mentioned that, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you work some of your guitars have bare knuckle pickups, and some other ones. What's the other brand that you also use for pickups? I can't, it escapes me off the top of it.
The others are Sunbear pickups.
Sunbear, correct, yes. And these are, you know, obviously very high quality pickups. And did you make a specific, you know, conscious choice to go with these pickup makers, or was it just because you liked the kind of sound that they had and the kind of pickups. I mean, I imagine that you obviously have custom. You give the consumer, if he wants a custom pickup to be put in there, you can obviously work with those companies to put that in there. But if I were to buy one of the models that you currently have on sale, do you specifically match those models with a pickup that you like? Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah. So when I'm building a guitar, I've probably got if it's a stock model, I've got an idea of sound, and I'll talk to a hand wound or custom pickup builder to get something that's tweaked exactly the way I want, and that's benefit I can pass on to the customer too. So if somebody has a sound in their head, or even the problem they're trying to solve. Normally with this kind of guitar that I've been playing for so long, I get this issue when I switch pickups, and I want a bit more output, more mid-range, less mid-range, more classic, whatever it is. How can we address this? And I'll talk to a custom builder like Stu Robson at Sunbear, and get something tweaked specifically for that guitar, for that player. So like this blue one, not that one, that blue. The neck pickup is a pair of, it's a Sunbear pickup, and it's actually a pair of Telecaster neck pickups combined as I think I'm oversimplifying it. Sorry, but it switches. It's a humbucker. But it switches to a real single coil Telecaster neck pickup, which is great for jazz sounds or just a warm rhythm pickup. So it's not splitting to a usually unique humbucker split sound. It's splitting to a real single coil, which is kind of a holy grail, really. In a humbucker, when you split it, you want it to sound single coil. That's sort of the point, but often they don't. So, but this one does. So that's something a bit unique that I can get from a custom builder like Sunbear.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the most interesting parts of what you do is, yes, we've mentioned that you have certain stock kind of guitars that you came up with, but I believe that it's the real value added is that if someone was interested in one of these guitars but wanted something changed, or even a purely custom guitar, they can get in touch with you. You can have a chat. You have the experience to kind of guide them, and also you have the connections to make something different happen. So as you say, if they want a specific sound in terms of the pickups, you can get that done, and that's really fascinating. I mean, I think, as you said, I think when you first started, the ultimate dream for any guitar player is to make or kind of get a purely unique guitar, and your guitar, and I guess that's the reason why you made your own, and I think kind of the Brian May thing where he created his guitar is just.
I was going to mention that.
It's such an inspirational story, right?
Yeah, we've all got Brian May to blame. It's all Brian May's fault.
Exactly, and I think that is such a unique thing that you offer to customers, is that experience when if I were to come with you and order a guitar, I've been playing for a long time, but maybe I would also need someone to guide me a little bit, or tell me what works, and someone with the experience, someone actually making it. And I think that's where the personal relationship that you have with your customers and that you offer as well is that you tell them and you advise them. Obviously they make the choices, but these are the options, and it's almost building together with a customer a guitar that is just for their needs. And again, I think it's such an incredible thing in today's world where everything is the same boring and grey. I think it's so unique to find, you know, companies like yourself doing this kind of work, and that is really what I think the, you know, uniqueness of music is about, right? It's creating something unique, and I struggle with. I don't know if you've seen, you know, a lot of the kind of top 100 pop songs or songs on the radio. I mean, it's terrible, right? There is no uniqueness anymore, and that's the kind of thing that I find very inspirational about Burman Guitars. Is, as you mentioned at the beginning, you're linking a unique experience of an instrument, but directly to a unique sound of that instrument, and hopefully creating unique pieces of music on that instrument, because you're creating something that is actually inspirational for the musician. And that's the thing, ultimately. We need to be inspired by the products, and, you know, whatever it is. If you're not, you know, inspired, even if you're a chef cooking and you're not inspired by, I don't know, the ingredients that you have, you're not going to make a good meal. So it's kind of the same thing with you. And that's, I really.
So yeah, I think when you mentioned, there's sort of maybe blandness might be a strong word, but talking about how a lot of guitars all the same. I think that's fair enough, because Fender and Gibson have a job to do. They've got to sell guitars, they've got to market guitars, and they've got to make them to suit most people, or most players. You know, when Gibson brought out the Robo tuners and everybody hated it, so they took them off. There are lots of players that love them. They're probably going, well, I want the Robo tuners.
Yeah.
But Gibson got a job to do. They've got a company to run, they've got employees they're responsible to, and so on. But I don't have that. I've got, well, like any other build, really, I've got lower overheads. I work on my own, for myself. I don't have employees. So my overheads are lower. That affects pricing as well. And it also makes me more agile when it comes to making custom guitars, which is more of a problem-solving process, really. You're solving a problem. Custom. So I need a guitar that does this. We can, like you said, we can talk about the kind of pickups, the kind of bridge that they need. So probably as opposed to a customer just saying, "Oh, here's a shopping list. Can you build a guitar for me?" There's nothing wrong with that, but it's, I do tend to think of it more as a problem-solving exercise. So they want something that's going to be more inspirational, or does things that a collection of their guitars already do, but it's maybe it's the neck from this guitar and the pickups from this guitar and a bridge from that guitar onto one guitar. So there's that sort of like, well, and of course don't forget the color, which is
absolutely
got to be the most important thing, isn't it? I think I'm being silly when I say the color is probably the most important thing, but nobody wants to play an ugly guitar. It's
no, that there's no doubt. At least personally, the first and most important thing I look at a guitar, except for the neck, is probably just how it looks, because no one wants to look silly, right? with an ugly guitar. It's just it's just, you know, that's why I guess as kids we used to look at those pictures of, you know, Jimmy Page or whoever looking really cool with those guitars, and it's just because they looks the part. I think that's the wonderful thing about it. So I guess the next kind of going into the future, what are your without, you know, revealing any top secret confidential information, but do you have any plans in terms of where you know see Burman Guitars going? Is it just continuing with these individual designs? Do you already have new designs coming up? I appreciate, obviously, the manufacturing process is not going to be a quick one, because you obviously need to test things out and stuff like that. But do you have like different concepts that you're working on at the moment that will hopefully see the light at some point?
Actually, I do. So Yeah, I've got
Don't-
two models in the works actually, and
fantastic.
they're both headless. So I'm working
Interesting. Wow.
on a headless guitar and a headless bass. The headless guitar will probably be aimed at jazz players.
Mm,
So it'll probably have one neck pickup. It may have two,
yes.
but it may have one pickup, and it may be heavily chambered.
Yes.
So maybe a semi-acoustic sort of idea, but yeah, it'll be a headless sort of jazz guitar and a headless bass I'm working on. And I'm also working on a number of new finishes and artwork as well. So I want to create some hand-painted guitars with some hand-painted designs, some unique designs.
Wow, and is that something you actually do yourself, the artwork?
It is, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Wow,
Yeah.
that's really incredible. The headless
Fingers crossed.
yeah, no, it's really fascinating, the headless side of it, because is it a completely different kind of vibe to the instrument? And making it, obviously you need to keep different aspects in consideration, don't you? It must be quite a different beast to building a normal quote normal guitar.
It is, yeah. The design I found quite challenging. I'm trying not to make something, well, like I said, like a spaceship. So I've got to start with the hardware, and I've got to start functionality of tuning it at the bottom of the body, at this end instead of at the head end, obviously. And so trying to work a design that I'm happy with is taking me a long time, but I think I'm close to having something I'm really happy with.
Wow.
And is not looking too derivative. I think that's always easy to do. It's always easy to look at other people's solutions to the problem and then replicate their success. I'm not trying to do that. I want to make something that's going to be reminiscent of the solo and the canto models, but still have that added functionality, as I see it, of a headless design. It's going to be more portable because it's shorter.
Yep.
And hopefully easier to fly with. It should be able to fit in overhead storage and
absolutely
easier back of your car. So
that's
portable to play.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, especially the thing. I think especially the aspect of, we've seen kind of the headless trends going up in the past couple of years, but mainly in the real extreme like rock and metal scene. So I think it's really interesting that you're expanding that a lot, and I think you do that generally with your guitars. They're not so genre specific. I think certainly the solo one behind you, and the kind of, you can, I personally can see them work in lots of different styles of music, from blues to rock to whatever it is. But it's interesting that you've kind of had an idea with the headless to bring it into a more jazz oriented. But did you see that as, again, solving a problem for certain people? Is it kind of, did you see a gap in the market and you thought that's actually something that's there, and that would be really, because it's more portable, because it's, lighter, I guess. It's really interesting. Was that one of your considerations, to come up with something that would actually solve a problem for, those kind of musicians?
It was. It was solving a problem, and also seeing a gap in the market, and talking to jazz players, and one in particular who seemed to show a bit of an interest, and I thought, okay, this might be useful to other players, and something that I would play too. So also solving a problem that I have.
Absolutely, yes, and it makes sense. And I think one of the overall themes that I get from yourself, but also some of the other great companies that I've interviewed, is these products, and whether it's guitars, straps, inlays, whatever it can be, they're not there to create a product. But I think, as you mentioned, and I think this interview really emphasizes it for me, is they're there to as a reaction to something. They're there to kind of solve a problem, because as a, you know, real guitar player, you have yourself had this problem, or you know people that have had these problems or would like certain features. And I think that's the really, you know, interesting thing for me, is that the products that do well, like your guitars, like some of the products that I've reviewed, are there because you're actually listening to the public, and they're made for the public. They're made for yourself, but also for the public, and to help people.
Yeah.
And I think that's, yeah, it's that balancing act. But I think it's something really, you know, quite important that a lot of very big companies sometimes don't really think about. It's just, you know, getting another version of whatever that's already been made 200 times, and it doesn't really add anything to the table. So my real, you know, it's as if we're taking this as an inspirational business course, I would say what I've learned from you today is, one, have great deal of passion for, you know, whatever you're doing. It requires a lot of hard work, because clearly you've put in the hours, and you still do, in learning these skills. But also, you know, kind of be in the community and think about, you know, the community and the people that you're working with, and you're building things for. So I think it's you know, it's trying to, as you said, solve the problem, and see where you can add value. And that's for me very, very inspirational. And I think it's clear in the work that you've done and the guitars that you do. It really is exciting, and I think it's innovation. And that's, for me, the kind of builders like yourself are where I actually start pushing the guitar world slightly forward, and not just stagnating, you know, in the you know, present, and kind of just redoing the models from the 60s. It's just, you know, as you said, because of your flexibility, and you're able to be more creative. And that's really, you know, I think a good lesson for all of us, to just put in the hard work, but at the same time let your kind of creativity go, and put it in practice. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's really fantastic. Another point that I wanted to mention for our viewers and listeners as well, for those that listen on the podcast, is that you do also a lot of guitar work on existing instruments. So people
that's right.
can get you to do anything from woodwork to fret jobs to, you know, electronic setups, etc., etc. So that's I think still part of your kind of business, and still something that you enjoy doing, I assume.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what started all this. You know, I just love, you know, tinkering things, repairing things, and I mean, specifically guitars. You know. No, I do very much enjoy doing repairs and setups, and getting people's instruments back to a playable state. It was like you were mentioning earlier. You know, lots of people have had a guitar sitting in their closet for years, and they just want to get it back to playable state, or somebody who has a guitar they're using constantly, and it is just wearing stuff fixed and whatever it is. Yeah, it's a wide range of things. Even refinishing. So
fantastic. Yes, so you do, obviously. Yeah, you do I guess the full set of skills that you use in building a guitar. You can also apply that to existing guitars. Yes, that's really really, really amazing. So what is the best way, I guess, to for people to get in contact with you? Is it through your website, which is www.burmanguitars.com? Is that right?
That's right. Yep, burmanguitars.com. Yeah, or Instagram is Burman Guitars. Again.
Yeah, so Nick again is very, very active on Instagram. I'm sure he doesn't enjoy it that much, but like myself, but he's on there, and he's very, very reactive, and he will, you know, I really encourage people to, if you've got any questions, or you know, if you want to talk to Nick about a future project or something that you have an idea from, he will certainly be very helpful and get back to you immediately. And also, I would assume for the kind of setup and kind of work on existing guitars, you can contact him again through website and Instagram to get prices, etc., etc. So it's really amazing. So Nick, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I know it's been 51 minutes so far, so it's been a really interesting chat for me. And again, just to emphasize, for me, it's an eye opener and very inspiring to see how, you know, I want to say by yourself, you've kind of kind of learned all that there was to learn, and then still learning and putting a lot of effort in kind of doing the things that you love. And I think, as we said off air at the beginning, maybe life is too short to do things that you don't love. And so, you know, the passion of your work really comes through, and I think is really inspirational for anyone who wants to pursue something similar or generally in life. So thank you again. It's been really nice to talk to you. And again, people, I'll put Nick's details in the description of the YouTube video, and don't hesitate to get in contact with him. So again, thank you so much, Nick. It's been a pleasure talking.
Well, thank you. That's been great. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. It's been really fun. So
thank you so much.
Thanks so much.